With nowhere left to retreat, she said it straight out. Let's get married. Not a single flicker crossed Killian's face. What are you talking about? I said, let's get married. You're proposing to me the first time we've met? I suppose I am. We don't even know each other. And what's wrong with that? He looked her straight in the eye and weighed every word. No, I have never once reversed a decision I've made. 4 days earlier, it all began somewhere very different. At the Ilden Merchant Guild, the trading empire built by Count Batuk Sergio. The kingdom was split into 4 regions, east, west, south, and north, and the south was the richest in resources. Count Sergio had climbed to the summit of the economy and taken hold of the entire south. His eldest daughter had been chosen as his successor. A voice rang out in the drawing room. So you've come? Sit down, Jerez. The woman seated there was Odell Sergio. You're later than I expected. You were in Lycan last week. I thought you'd have arrived yesterday. Ah, I stopped somewhere along the way. So did you bring anything back? Anything worth trading? He unrolled several lengths of shimmering fabric. That region is famous for its weaving. I brought a few samples. Would you care to look? She didn't even glance at them. Fine, I'll look later, he faltered. Wait, Odell, What about me? Ah, nothing. It's just the first time I've seen you set work aside like that. Why would you say that? Inwardly, she thought. From now on, we'll be seeing a great deal of each other. Odell, you look somehow... She watched his expression and felt a thrill rise in her chest. That's right. That's exactly the reaction you should be having. Rising early had become my habit, but it has been years since I last looked into a mirror at this hour instead of into a stack of documents. She asked again, What about me? Is there something on my face? Jerez had been flustered this whole time. Ah, no. Jerez, are you ill? Or has all this traveling worn you out? He forced a laugh. No, it's nothing. She narrowed her eyes and studied him. Nothing, is it? That evasive gaze. He's clearly hiding something. His lips are stiff, and his throat keeps working up and down like that. Very well, my turn. He looks utterly drained and still manages to be handsome. She spoke up. Jerez, I hear you stopped at Satona before coming here. He started. How did you know that? What business did you have there? The South is hardly short of gemstones. No, it's just... Odell was already running the numbers in her head. Could some new kind of raw stone have surfaced there? Jerez was still fumbling. That is... She put him at ease. It's all right. Just say it plainly. It isn't as if we've only just met. 9 years had passed since the day they met, and 3 since that incident. Jerez finally gathered the courage. Actually, there's something I want to say, but I don't know where to begin. I felt I should tell you first. Odell's cheeks warmed. That's right. What matters most is who speaks first. I understand his nerves, but I don't have time for this. Whatever happens, there is only one answer I can give. So proposing a little early would also be... Before she could finish the thought, he spoke. Odell, are you listening to me? What? Yes, I'm listening. In truth, she hadn't caught a word. Her mind was already a step ahead. She was confident she knew exactly what Jerez was about to say. A close friend who had nursed a confession for a long time, freshly returned from a jeweler far away. A man so nervous he didn't dare lift his head. And the detail that settled it. The square box hidden inside his coat. It couldn't be anything else. A square gift box, and inside it a stone of at least 3 carats, top grade. If I can't work out even that much, I should hand back my place as heir. Her deduction complete, she nodded. Well, if you've come this far, I have no choice. A great deal has changed in 3 years. Truly, Odell? You really understand how I feel? She smiled radiantly. Understand? Why say a thing like that? What are we to each other? Jerez broke into a bright smile. Thank you for your support. You've given me real courage. Support? He's thanking me for my support, not for the ring. Jerez reached into his coat pocket, then smiled. I hope she'll like it, but I wanted you to see it. Your eye is excellent, so you'll know what suits her. Odell went still. What? So that's how it is? Jerez held out a ring set with a glittering stone. Here. Odell deflated. I never imagined there would come a day when I'd look straight at a diamond and be unable to smile. She picked up her teacup at once and drained it in a single swallow. Still unable to steady herself, she turned to stone where she sat. If this is how it is, there's only one thing left to do. Try not to look pathetic. She forced a smile. It's lovely. The lines are very finely done, and the stone is good quality too. Jerez let out a breath of relief. What a relief. I'm sure Noella will love this gift. Odell froze the instant she heard the name. A great question mark rose up in her mind. Hold on. May I ask this Noella you just mentioned? You mean Noella Sergio, my younger sister? Back at the estate, Jackie came running. Why are you only back now, my lady? How did it go? What did Master Jerez say? He really did visit that jeweler in Satona, didn't he? Odell walked as if fleeing and answered flatly, So I hear. I knew it! He should have done this ages ago. Oh, my lady, just look at these eyes of yours. Never mind the South, there aren't eyes this beautiful in the whole empire. Of course he wasn't going to let his chance pass. Odell snapped, Jackie, I have a headache. Naturally, my lady has just been proposed to. What girl wouldn't? Odell cut her off. He told me he's in love with another woman to my face, so I'm a little shaken. I'm sorry, but would you leave me alone for a while? Jackie cried out. What did you say, my lady? The woman Master Jerez loves is Lady Noella? Anyone looking at me right now would think I was the one who'd been thrown over. Jackie looked struck by lightning and boiled over. Unbelievable. How dare he confess to another woman right in front of my lady? How dare he? 3 years ago, he said he could wait. Said he'd wait years if he had to. Odell raised an eyebrow. You were eavesdropping back then, were you? Jackie clapped a hand over her mouth, realizing too late. 3 years ago, Jerez proposed to me, but with the contest for the succession right in front of me, I couldn't accept what he was offering. If those feelings are genuine, propose again in 3 years. If we both still feel the same then, I'll consider it seriously. That is what I said. And yet, I never once imagined he'd fall for my own sister. Shall I call Noella here right now? But what are you doing, my lady? Be angry if you must, I'll hold my tongue. I have to finish this to hand over in the morning. You're truly not angry? You're just going to sit there like this? If I don't do this now, 32 business divisions won't open on time tomorrow. That would be chaos. Hundreds of employees and their families, 1,000 people all told, would suffer for it. Honestly. Besides, if it's Noella, she'll find her own way here. No sooner had she spoken than there came a knock at the door. From inside, Odell answered, Come in. A young woman peeked around the door. Sister, may I come in? Come in! Sister, I'm sorry. You must be furious with me. Odell didn't turn around. Why would I be? I truly had no idea he felt that way about me, not even in my dreams. It's all my fault. As long as you're all right. Odell glanced over. I'm fine, you can go now. She waved the stack of papers in her hand. I still have work. Her sister started to say more, but Odell cut her off flatly. Enough. We'll talk tomorrow. That is, if you can get up before I leave in the morning. Jackie, take Noella back to her room before she faints on us. Come now, let's go. Her sister still hesitated. But beyond the door, only a faint call lingered. Sister, 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 Only when she heard the door shut fully did she turn her head. Then she braced her hands and stood. She's really gone, isn't she? As she always did, she went to the window, threw it wide open, and shouted about what a pathetic heroine they had made of her. Just then, outside, the hem of someone's coat swept past. She raised an eyebrow. How long have you been standing there? Who gave you leave to eavesdrop? A young man vaulted through the window into the room. You noticed me a little late. You told me not to use the front door as I please. She sighed. So you came in through the window? That's right. She held out her hand in front of him. This is what you meant, isn't it? You really are something. Even if I wanted to scold him, the boy is far too good at his work. My only worry is that someone might fail to recognize this family's blood in him. Caden Sergio. Count Sergio's only son, and my youngest brother. My half-brother, to be precise. The year Caden turned 14, the first time he set foot in this house, he began to find his footing, and it started with me. Hello? You're Odell, aren't you? I don't have a name yet. I'll tell you when I do. But I'll warn you now, I hate money and I hate luxury. I know you won't like me later, but don't kill me. The butler was carrying a child covered in blood. From that very first meeting, I couldn't find a way to turn him away. Caden grew up under my hand and came to run the guild's most secret business. That work mostly means dealing with the vermin that swarm around money, and it cannot be called a lawful method. She turned. Enough, I'll look at it later, you should go. I'm tired today. She went rigid when Caden asked, That man Jerez has changed his mind, hasn't he? She turned back. When did you find out about that? Caden propped a foot on the windowsill. Shall I kill him? A cold killing intent poured out of his eyes. Answer me. If you want it, I'll do it. Odell knew perfectly well that when Caden spoke with those eyes, he was never joking. The last time Caden wore that look, another heir had insulted him. That man paid for it with an arm. She said, Jerez is still useful. An auditor that capable isn't easy to find. Don't break anything more. Do your own work well instead. My affairs are mine to handle. Then why did you pretend not to know? I have a truly frightening sister. Caden, what are you saying? Mind your tongue. Fine, if that's what you want. Satisfied? There are things I know that you don't. With that, he leapt out of the window and was gone. I could use Caden's own insolent words and deeds to throw him out, but I don't, and for exactly one reason. Because Noela, my sweet and pitiful little sister, is the real bomb waiting to go off. If I had to wrap my past in a single word, that word would be war. The life of someone born with a dirt spoon in Korea. By some mercy, I clawed my way through it all and into a good university. A good university for a dirt spoon. Every achievement, every ounce of effort I poured out over all those days and months ended up in the class president's hands. The gold spoon. I couldn't stand another second of it and went looking for drink to drown the bitterness. Why are you asking me that? Ask your parents, the ones who birthed you in that house. Oh, this filthy world, I screamed. I can do it too. I only ever wanted the chance to do it properly. Please, send me abroad to study and I'll do nothing but study. I won't touch a single wrong thing. Marriage, love, I don't need any of it. Family is enough for me. It's the same for me. This isn't a fight over food. It's a fight over assets. Brother, let me wake up just once. Her shouts rang out in the empty night, and passers-by only glanced over and murmured to one another. Then her foot slipped, and the words buried in her chest kept pouring out, until her body toppled amid the noise and her eyes shut tight. So I prayed to be born the daughter of a great financial house. I should have brushed it off and stepped into a new day, dirty as that day still was. I will never open my eyes again, because this is Korea. And so she sank, down toward the bottom of a deep sea. Then, faintly, she heard someone cry out, "Oh, come and look at this little lady's eyes. They're going to be pink for certain." What is that sound? Excuse me, who is that? This isn't a place that draws attention. I raised two tiny hands and waved them about. Why do my hands move so easily? Wait, are these my hands? And then I burst into tears. Why have I turned out like this? What on earth is happening? I have work tomorrow. Then a voice rang out. So it's true. The perfect eyes for business. A man was gazing at me with great fondness. Then he gently stroked my cheek. Odell, from today that is your name. I stared blankly. What? Why so suddenly? Then my eyes came to rest on his finger. That ring looks familiar. Isn't that the very ring from the novel I read a few days ago? The book described it in great detail. I couldn't be mistaken. The eagle of House Sergio, 18 feathers finely engraved, its eyes set with glittering diamonds. I clenched my hand and began to count. There's no mistaking it. 1, 2, 3. Look at our girl, the ring has already stolen her heart. Truly my daughter. This man is my father? It seems I understand a little now. When I died, I was reborn inside that very novel. The daughter of Count Sergio, the richest magnate in the South. I'm the daughter of a great financial house, and not just any house, the wealthiest in the South. So that's it. A daughter. How did it come to this? I stretched out my tiny hand and took hold of the Count's finger. This hand I will never let go. And so time passed. On a fine day, a maid's call rang out. My lady, slow down. You have language and swordsmanship this morning, and you may only ride after your gemstone appraisal and art classes. Even with my mother gone early and my father away all day, compared with my previous life, this play was still worth performing. That lovely stretch of time met its first swell when I was 11. As I sat thinking, footsteps came closer. May I get to know you? I'm Noella. The novel Don't Trust the Blonde Girl, Noella Sergio. I am the villainess's half-sister. The author must have given her an angel's name, the exact opposite of mine. What surprised me was that Noella was the heroine. Beautiful, gifted, a textbook heroine. But however hard she tried to shine as a symbol of forgiveness and endurance, readers used to satisfying turns only found her suffocating. The comment sections filled with one sentence. Watching this heroine is unbearable. Then Chloe, Noella's friend, appeared. Noella was smothered by pressure every day. Better looks, better mind, better chemistry with the male lead. Chloe looked more and more like a true protagonist. Faced with a wave of reader criticism, the author changed the heroine. In a novel, the heroine is always forgiven. For Noella, being stripped of that role was the real tragedy. And in the end, half the crimes committed in the Empire were laid at Noella's feet. Noella is my sister, how could I sit still? Even if I let her be, even if she never used a single trick to cause disaster. At 20 years old, she would die anyway. She held out her hand. Just call me sister. Let's enjoy ourselves together for as long as we're alive. I never read the final volume, but they say Noella was sentenced to life imprisonment and died in agony as her body burned. Was it really necessary to kill a girl who had once been the heroine so cruelly? At 11, she drove anyone who crossed her out like a thief. At 12, she led a pack of bullies and forced a rival out of school. And more dramatic still, when Caden was small, Noella nearly killed him several times over without his ever knowing. Every time I tried to fix one thing, something else got worse. The butler knelt weeping and begged. By then, I began to think this was a curse laid on anyone who defied the author's will. She sat in silence on the bed and closed her eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't think I'd rewrite this much for you. In return, I'll do everything a sister can. In any case, by the original story, Noella had exactly 1 year left. She lay back on the bed and thought, whatever comes, there is nothing that can't be done. And the thing that will save me is not me. It's money. Rather than these small matters, tomorrow's standing party is the priority. Time to sleep. A grand banquet, exactly as the Sergio name demands. I believe every wealthy name in the South is here. The flowing music made the party richer still. The guests were buzzing with a rumor that the successor would be announced tonight. One of the women spoke up. As you all know, Lady Odell will be the successor, and that is rather... Before she could finish, a voice behind her made her jump. Oh, good evening, Viscountess Danya. You've come tonight as well? Odell appeared, radiant, smiling brightly. I hope you enjoy the evening in comfort. Danya's face darkened. The one who supplies us with the finest fabrics, always and anywhere. So very dependable. Inwardly, she was cursing. Outwardly, she managed a strained cheer. Ha ha, I'm delighted. Jackie, walking beside her, glanced back with open contempt. It isn't only tonight. That Viscountess follows my lady around bad-mouthing you constantly. Odell laughed. Does she? And what does she say? What else? That you're too cold and calculating, and that if you take the seat, you'll overshadow the Count himself. I see. Jackie asked, Are you certain about this, my lady? Why come all this way just to needle her? Odell was giving instructions to a client. Tomorrow, re-inspect the bolts of cloth her own weaver delivered. One of them is certainly defective. Then she turned back. It's never too late to demand accountability. And if nothing turns up, so be it. I'll step forward myself. Jackie asked, You look exhausted, my lady. Is something weighing on you? Jackie, do I look cheerful and charming? You look happy to me. This is exactly the fighting spirit a magnate needs. Odell stared. Wait, what? I have longed to live as I do now, where nothing is impossible. Noella had just arrived at the party, and she didn't look half bad. As she stood alone with her thoughts, a voice came from behind. I thought you had already gone home, my lady. What, Jerez? Are you all right? The two of them stood arm in arm, and Noela answered, I'm fine. Of everyone around me, he was the best suited to an arranged marriage. That is why I told him to wait for my answer. She remembered the day Jerez confessed to her. 3 years ago, that proposal was only a test. Even in those 3 years, if she doesn't change her mind, I'll make her trust me. But the moment a man turns towards someone else, that is already the final goodbye. Back in the present, Noela stood staring blankly at her sister. It was a long while before Noela spoke. Sister? Odell only smiled and said nothing, while inwardly she wailed, I am so very tired of this. But Noela remained innocent and carefree, aware of nothing. Who could suspect a face like that? She curled her lip. No, it's a good thing if the two of you end up together. Call it jealousy, call it provocation, it makes no difference. If Noela is with Jerez, I have nothing left to cling to. At the very least, I'll be spared the sight of a villain dragging my name through the ashes. Noela said anxiously. Jerez says the two of us must go together. You're different from me, sister. You can live well anywhere on your own. Odell blinked. What? If the two of you have quarreled, what has that to do with me? She said, well, the two of you do suit each other. Tell father the moment he's back. Noela replied, I'm afraid you'll turn into someone else. She even patted Noela's shoulder. What are you talking about? Who could I possibly turn into? She noticed Jerez stealing a glance their way. Odell said, Go on, your beloved is waiting. She raised a hand and pushed Noela along. You're staring so hard. What if you start crying next? Jackie hurried up behind her. My lady, truly her color was terrible. But in a little while, Odell cut in. She'll make me angry, is that it? Watching Noela's figure recede, Jackie asked, It seems my lady is worried about her. What are you saying? If I were worried about her, I wouldn't have come here in the first place. I worry about how she'll manage in a place like this. Someone like Noela, with no part in the business, should never have come. Or should I have pretended to be angrier? But I can't act out a rage I don't feel. What is this? Why won't this restlessness leave my chest? Jackie offered her opinion. Let me think. This isn't quite refined enough. How about you sit down on the floor, kick your feet, and add a few sobs? She played it so convincingly that as she raised a handkerchief to her eyes, she stopped short. I think I heard something. Her expression changed at once and she spun around. Jackie stared. My lady, what is it? Nothing, but didn't you hear something? A man's voice. A voice? There's no one here but you and me, my lady. Just then, footsteps drew near. Odell, so this is where you are. Odell's heart sank. What does this one want now, my cousin? He is my cousin, and he has never been pleased that a girl like me should inherit the business. Even so, because we share blood, I gave him a high position. In return, he looks at me as though I stole something from him. He spoke. I hear you were speaking with Noela, finished so quickly? Is that all you came to ask? Looking at that smirk, she thought, what scheme is he brewing this time? He turned to look behind him. Those people over there. Most of them used to stand at your side, didn't they? Clearly, there are plenty of remarkable people around Noela, but she only draws attention because she arrived holding Jerez's hand. If you have time for this, why not go over the books one more time? Father returns next week. You know he isn't a man who forgives easily just for blood. Is that really what you want to say? She folded her arms. Get to the point. This time, Uncle will name his heir, won't he? And how would you know that? Noela's radiant smile flashed through her mind at the very moment he said it. The heir of House Sergio must be a married person. She came awake with a jolt, eyes wide. By family law, the heir must be married and of age. It makes no distinction of birth order, man or woman. But I have no need of any of that. Odell returned home and snapped, Why am I only learning of this now? The man stammered, My lady? She cut him off. Is it true? She clenched her fists. It felt like betrayal. The seat I had always assumed was mine might not be mine at all. From the day I was born, I have lived precisely the life of a flawless heir, without wasting a single minute glancing at anything else. She spun around. Even if my father said nothing, you should have told me. It's because in the past, almost everyone held their wedding at the same time as their coming of age. And the Count himself has said Lady Odelle is the most fitting successor. Why should it be a problem only now? I came because I never expected Lady Noella to marry Master Jerez. Even the Count doesn't yet know. Odelle rubbed her forehead wearily. Enough. I thought I was safe with Jerez. I even gave the two of them special favor to delay this political marriage. And that chance collapsed in a single morning. She asked, "Did my father say anything else?" "After you left, that was the first letter he sent. He instructed me to prepare your wedding so it can proceed the moment he returns. Your coming of age was long ago, so this would make the succession far more secure." "Has that letter been sent to Noella?" "It seems it has already reached her, my lady." "Then it's clear." What a scheming creature. She read the letter first, then went to Jerez. He was already preparing to move. All she had to do was push. I never thought a young lady like her could calculate so far ahead. No, you're right about that. Set against Noella's crimes in the original story, this is nothing. It isn't simply stealing a sister's betrothed. The fact that she was born out of wedlock was dragged up again and again until it hardened into an inferiority she couldn't shake. And in the end, what she truly wanted came clear. My lady, please be calm. The Count still regards you as his true successor. He can't change his mind over one family custom. Change his mind? Even so, there is another way. When the Count returns, how do you intend to explain Noella marrying Jerez? Will he scold Lady Noella for it? My father is a man whose thinking rises above ordinary morality. He chose me as his successor, not because I am the eldest daughter, and not because I am his lawful wife's child. Only because I proved my results and my ability over and over. And if I fall short, if I stop being worth something, that seat will be taken by my younger brother. Very well, I'll place a bet. Wouldn't it be better to simply tell him you love him, rather than be betrayed like this? So what will you do now, my lady? Go and find Master Jerez? She flared up. Am I a recycling bin? What am I supposed to do with a man who walked away and told me someone else was better? Could you possibly mean you'd give up the succession? Odelle shouted. Have you lost your mind? I'd sooner tear out my own heart. There is no other way. After everything I've poured into this, I can't retreat like this. Noella won't take the succession right away, but at the very least, my father will think me less capable than he believed. She said flatly, Then I'll change men. Jackie went still. You'll what? I'll change first, for a man better than Jerez. But the Count arrives next week, my lady. A week is more than enough for a man and a woman to meet. You've never even met anyone, so how would I know? Who exactly do you intend to marry? Even in a hurry, you shouldn't decide something like this so fast. She answered, He'll be better than Jerez, at least. Father won't care whether he's rich or poor. Our family's wealth is already excessive. I agree, my lady. Who in all the South is richer than Sergio? But it would still cause talk. A man of real ability would support you far better. And above all, he must be born noble, to be worthy of marrying a count's daughter, because if we divorce, he may not go quietly. Oh, and I'd like him tall and handsome, not for selfish reasons, but because he'll stand beside me before crowds a great many times. If possible, he should be clever, so we can understand each other, and ideally he shouldn't be unfaithful. Well, not so unreasonable, is it? Jackie answered. Not unreasonable, my lady, just non-existent. Ah, I thought the same. The more I say it, the more I see Jerez really was decent. Rich, not greedy, handsome, and clever besides. How is a man that perfect still unmarried? Unless there's a holy man to be found. Jackie blinked. A holy man? Exactly. A man who has everything he needs and covets none of it. If not a holy man of San Fidelio, what else could he be? Why did I not think of it sooner? And so mistress and maid set out to find a husband. There truly is no other way, my lady. The carriage rolled along a road drowning in flowers. The gold bars gleamed brilliantly. She said, Surely I can't go empty-handed. Anywhere in this world, money is the root of relationships and of courage, and a compass and a map besides. Before my father arrives, I must find a husband worth the name. The Count will most likely pass through the east first. If he crosses the Lennox Bridge there, he'll be home within the week. And if that Lennox Bridge were to collapse, that would cost another week, wouldn't it? Jackie answered evenly. It was finished only last year, my lady. Who would destroy such a fine, bright bridge? Then Jackie thought of Caden. In that case, why not ask him to find a groom? If my lady gives the order, he'll drag one back no matter what. But she shuddered the instant she remembered him. Though, would he drag back one who's still alive? Caden always says there is nothing he cannot do for me, but there are a few exceptions. He is especially sensitive about the people around me. Every time he appears, he asks in that gloomy voice, "How shall I kill them?" Are you truly not frightened of him, my lady? Odell tilted her head. Caden? Frightened of what? Jackie said, People shake just from meeting his eyes. Odell defended him. Shake? If he weren't like that, he'd be rather sweet. Jackie let it go. Yes, my lady. If you look closely, he's no different from a puppy. If his mother were still alive, things might have gone differently. They say that before he came to the Count's house, his own mother abused him savagely. Thinking back to the day he arrived, he does his work there very well, too. Nothing I've entrusted to Caden has ever strayed from my intent. That is also why the shadow organizations keep so close to this vast merchant guild. Because he himself is the hidden king of the underworld. In any case, there's nothing to worry about with him. I've covered his tracks thoroughly. Honestly, my lady, it's you we should worry about first. Suddenly, Odell exclaimed, Oh my! She was captivated by the serene beauty of the holy temple of San Fidelio, place of worship for god Enes, founding deity of the Theolan Empire. It is the emblem of the South, and no one may come and go as they please. This is a closed and guarded place, home to priests, holy maidens, knights, and monks. It is like the spiritual heart of the empire. The mere sight of it settles something in you. Each person who looks up at the holy temple sees something different. Some see peace, others see faith and courage. And I see my future husband. A temple this beautiful ought to come with a handsome groom. It's reckless, perhaps, but think it through and no man on earth suits a husband better than a knight of this place. They say that if a man has trained there, I can trace his lineage, his origins, his health, and his potential down to the last detail. Without records, you can't even enter training. Nowhere else gathers so many ideal candidates in one place. Jackie asked suddenly, My lady, do the Knights of the Holy Temple even marry? I've never heard of such a thing. It's merely rare. Legally, there's no obstacle. If I weren't certain, I wouldn't have come all this way. The notion of marrying into the Holy Temple is foreign to ordinary people. But the Ilden Merchant Guild records and compiles everything, and a great deal of it concerns religion. First, to enter the Holy Temple, you must survive brutal training at a monastery. After that, depending on the power they receive and their own will, they are divided into priests and knights. That stage alone eliminates 9 out of 10. She said, If not a priest, a knight is hardly a poor match. A son in the great holy temple is an honor to the whole house, but you can't hand the eldest the family's burdens and then send him off to take vows. Jackie replied, That's true. And there's no guarantee of passing. Dying during training is common enough. In the end, even a knight is only a wild plum blossom in the forest. No assets, no title. I will marry a capable husband, and I will be the one to give him solid ground to stand on. The coachman spoke up. My lady, we've arrived. What now? She answered, Wait a moment. Jackie said, I heard everything you said, but do you really mean to take me into the monastery with you? Even if we knock, I doubt we'll get through. Who said anything about sneaking in? I have the standing of the successor of House Sergio, which rules this entire South. Surely you don't intend to use money? Odell shot back. What are you talking about? How much money has already been poured into this place? How would I pour in more? Then what is it? She drew out a sheaf of papers and fanned herself with them. I've come to collect, obviously. At the temple gate, a young man blocked the way. This puts us in a difficult position. Please turn back. My lady has traveled a long road to be here. He did not budge. This is not an ordinary shrine. This is the holy temple of San Fidelio. You have come to see the archbishop without an appointment. She stepped closer and spoke. In this matter, the discourtesy is ours. He turned, met that face, and blurted out, Ah! 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 Then he cleared his throat and recovered himself. You must make an appointment. I know the journey here is hard, but the rules cannot be broken. A voice rang out. Is something interesting happening out there? Why was no one informed of a visitor? Ah, Vice Archbishop Samuel. The Vice Archbishop asked, "Who is this young lady?" Odell screamed inwardly, "The Vice Archbishop! Am I only to be granted the Vice Archbishop?" Well now, coming to see the Archbishop without an appointment. Rather surprising. You seem to have come from far away, but this is difficult. He won't even look at me directly, she answered. I imagine it is. San Fidelio is not what you think, my lady. This is a place of austerity, where one trains restraint and learns patience by the words of the noble Saint Ines. It is also a place to learn the principles of life, of love, and of grace. Hearing her say it, he stopped short. Only now did he glance at her. From which house do you come? A sharp, refined face, black hair, and if the pupils held a shade of pink, then could it be? She answered, It is a pleasure to meet you, Vice Archbishop. I am Odell of the house of Count Sergio. What is Count Sergio's daughter doing here at a time like this? Because I have come not as a member of the Count's household, but as heir to the Ilden Merchant Guild. He thought in astonishment, I have no gift of prophecy, but the instinct of more than half a lifetime as a priest is speaking now. It says something unpleasant is about to happen here. First, I must send her home. He was about to speak when Odell turned away. This place really is beautiful. Living somewhere like this must lighten the spirit. The Vice Archbishop hurried after her. You are too kind, but as I said, the Holy Temple has its procedures. There will be no exceptions. You are a noble woman of high standing. I trust you understand me. I don't. My own merchant guild keeps a similar discipline. Whatever the circumstances, we give nothing to strangers for free. But there is exactly one exception. It applies only to the priests of San Fidelio. Jackie stepped forward and handed him a stack of receipts. He took them, and his hands shook as he recognized them. This is the hotel where I stayed. Odell said, Our family's hotels accept no guest without a reservation, so that we may serve them properly. That is last month's bill. The priests of San Fidelio, however, are always welcome. As you can see, the sum is not small, and we bear the loss. But we cannot impose rules on those charged with carrying the word of the Holy Spirit across the empire. We are only following Saint Ines. Love and aid the traveler from afar as you would your own family. Which is why a great many people sleep free for hundreds of nights and then behave like strangers afterward. She remembered a conversation with her father. The cheapest room is 200 or 300 coins a night now. Why must we house priests for nothing? He set down his teacup and said, unhurried, They say the more seed you sow, the more fruit you gather. In business, my father truly was ahead of his time. I don't intend to stay long. Once I've spoken with the Archbishop, I'll go straight home. Lady Odell. Before he could finish, she went on, Looking closely, that vestment you're wearing is the very cloth our house released last year. It suits you beautifully. For a devout believer, there is no greater honor. He clutched his head and swayed and had to lean against a pillar. Good heavens, you're overwhelming me again. That pillar you're leaning on was donated by our family at the festival 2 years ago. Ah, yes, and the statue you're looking at as well. I chose the color of the stone myself. The Vice Archbishop rubbed his forehead and let out a breath of surrender. But the Archbishop is not here now. Even if you go in, you won't meet him. When he returns, I will carry your message to him before anything else. She remembered standing once at a window, gazing out. Then her father came up behind her. Odell, nothing in this world is free. Among the hundreds of priests and knights who receive those gifts, 10 will become leaders with real power. 5 of them will hold the South, and the one at the very top will shake the whole empire. Worth noting is that when you went to the Park Temple last month, they said nothing of the kind to you. Nor at the Tana Temple the month before, nor the Messia Temple before that. Odell, a merchant is not someone who sits counting small coins. At that very moment, the Vice Archbishop pushed the door open. Ahem, Lady Odell. Yes, Vice Archbishop. As I told you, the Archbishop is absent at present. She smiled. But you also said someone is acting in his place. He went rigid at once and turned his face away from her gaze. I had to plead for this. Please meet with him. He is nothing like what you imagine. Whatever you see inside, keep it from everyone. Rest assured, keeping secrets is the first rule of the Ilden Merchant Guild. Inwardly, she wondered, what kind of enchantment is in there? My lady, allow me to warn you of a few surprises in advance. Please, go on. The truth is, he keeps very strict rules about comings and goings. Well then, simply memorize these 50 small precautions and you may go in. Odell turned to her maid. Honestly, Jackie, weren't you just about to ask the Vice Archbishop about holy doctrine? Then she steered the Vice Archbishop away. There's so much I want to ask you, Vice Archbishop. Yes, wait a moment. Now only Odell remained. She turned and walked to the door. All right, here we are. She raised her hand and knocked. So it's real. This isn't the kind of door you simply open, so there must be some power behind it. Before her lay a thick, unbroken darkness. So this was the surprise the Vice Archbishop had mentioned. Greetings to the one who stands for the God who guards the moon and the sun, God Ennis. I am Odell, eldest daughter of Count Sergio. To stand before the representative of our guardian deity is an honor beyond compare. A voice rang out. You may dispense with the formalities. She was quietly astonished. The voice was gentle and heavy with authority at once. Truly a voice worthy of a god's representative. And it sounded far younger than she had expected. He asked, I hear you traveled a long road to get here. I apologize for coming without an appointment. San Fidelio would not let me in. This is the first time I have faced anyone whose presence weighs heavier than my father's. Who on earth is this man? He asked. The Vice Archbishop tells me you have given a great deal to this temple. It's nothing. What I've done hardly counts. Then what do you want? Odell thought, he's more impatient than I expected. If I answer I want to marry you the instant he asks, that would be a little off, wouldn't it? He said suddenly, your purpose is the same as everyone else's who comes to this temple. You want power, don't you? You want to rule this world? No. Then it's money. It's money, isn't it? Faced with those guesses, she thought, even if I tried to hold it in, I couldn't. This is no different from the tale of the golden axe and the silver axe. He's clearly telling me to pick one quickly and be gone. A god with a voice that young and that full of mockery. She smiled brightly. Thank you for the offer, but I am of House Sergio. Not power, not money. Then you want to rule this tower? I have 100 things to do already. Or you want me to harm someone? Not that either. Caden handles that. Traveling all this way to ask for such things would be a waste. And let me say this in advance. What I want is not eternal youth, not a place as a high priestess, and not peace after death. He went on, absolute beauty then? No. What I want matters more than everything you've named. She stepped closer. Perhaps to you it's all meaningless, but... At that instant, a blinding shaft of light struck her full in the eyes. I can't open my eyes. The light laid his face bare. A young man, unfairly beautiful, with eyes as blue as open sky. He said, so it seems to be true. She stared at him, stunned, and a silence fell between them. Their eyes met, and neither looked away first. Seeing her watch him without a word, he asked, Is something the matter, my lady? Are your eyes swollen? Ah, no, she thought. My eyes are swollen because of you. Pull yourself together. I didn't come here to be dazzled by a man's face. First, I need to know who he is. The crest of San Fidelio, yet he doesn't look like a priest. If he isn't a priest and still stands in for the archbishop, then he must be a man under 30. That is not a seat just anyone can hold. There is certainly a sword in this room. So he is a holy knight. It seems you've worked it all out. You are Lady Odell, aren't you? My introduction is late. A high-ranking knight is loyalty itself, but the one who presides over everything is always a priest. From the archbishop down, the great offices are held by those who rose through the priesthood. There is exactly one exception. Our first meeting, I believe. Greetings, Knight Commander of San Fidelio. He narrowed his eyes. Have you nothing else to say, my lady? She glanced around. That robe is not a knight's uniform, but habits are hard to break, aren't they, Commander? If it weren't for that face, I might have seen it sooner. A man flawless from the neck up, and yet his belt is loosened, and there's a callus along his index finger. She added carefully, If I'm mistaken, I apologize. You're not. She smiled to herself. Of course. After a long stretch of hard training in the ice caves of Kenlohan, who wouldn't ache? He asked coolly, Is that written on my robe as well? San Fidelio held several great events this year, and not one rumor has ever touched this man. Nearly every unwed daughter of the South's noble lines attended, and not one of them breathed a word, which means none of them has ever laid eyes on him. She said, "Impossible. I have never met anyone born of the South who rose to Knight Commander, so I assumed you trained in the ice caves. It seems you know of the Kenlohan ice caves." Naturally. The post of Knight Commander of the Great Holy Temple does not fall out of the sky. Reaching it through ordinary training would be absurd. At the very least, it would take a notoriously lethal ice canyon, which fits. It also explains why he has never shown his face until now. So what did you wish to speak about? For me, at least, it is the matter of a lifetime. A contract marriage, to be precise, though there's no need to spell that out. I came to the Archbishop to be introduced to the most suitable partner. A thought flashed through her mind. A partner? An introduction? While she was lost in it, he called, "My lady." A knight commander is also a holy knight, exceptional in ability, so his future is certain to open wide, and his appearance is beyond criticism. Jerez is handsome too, but that is someone else's business now. This man is like a symbol of an entire nation's peace. Calm down. First, calm down. Is something wrong, my lady? The thing is, I still don't know your name. I am Kylian Setien. Setien? I see. Thankfully, I've never heard that family name in my life. A capable man with no house behind him is the ideal. And his age? How old is he? She probed at once. Thank you, Commander. Though you look younger than me, and you're already Knight Commander. That's remarkable. Killian frowned. Younger? I'm 21 this year. At most, you'd be the same age as me. It's plain to see. I am 6 years older than you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. She rejoiced silently. Age cleared. Then she probed further. I'm not usually this hasty, so forgive me. Please give my apologies to your wife. Killian answered at once. I'm not married. She cheered inwardly. Wonderful. Oh, Archbishop, thank you. Don't celebrate yet. There's one more thing. Incidentally, may I ask one more question? Would the commander happen to like blondes? He answered no. She pressed a little further. Blonde hair does look rather angelic, or... He cut her off. It does not. Are you all right, my lady? Ah, of course. She cheered again, cleared. That settles everything. In any case, you've had a difficult journey, and if the matter is that important, the person you need is the Archbishop, not me. He'll receive you in 2 weeks. Speak to him then. She grew flustered. No, that's too late. Killian paused. Too late? However urgent it is, anything touching you would benefit the Archbishop far more. No, if the commander lends a hand, it's far better. You mean me? Her voice went firm. Yes, you could bring me anyone here and no one would help more than you. At last he looked at her and said evenly, Very well, but first you'll answer me one thing. He asked coldly, What exactly did you come here to tell me? She grew awkward, her voice tightening. The truth is, I was worried sick about how to go about this. I'm glad you'll hear me out. I think you'll be surprised. He shook his head indifferent. I doubt that. She sighed. That's life. There are important things that have to be settled, he cut in. Then keep it short. The air went suspiciously quiet. There was something unreadable in it, and still no answer came from him. She asked, Are you all right? You're an unmarried man of marrying age, and a holy knight of the Great Holy Temple of San Fidelio. As the Archbishop's stand-in, you hold considerable power on top of your swordsmanship. Whether or not he cared, she pressed on. And you dislike display. Your character seems honest, too. He sighed. Lady Odell. Even now, he kept his composure. She couldn't help admiring it. Patience and manners enough to sit through the mad talk of a woman he'd met an hour ago without losing his temper. She chose her words to persuade him. Whatever's missing, can't we learn it as we go? Marriage is by nature 2 strangers under one roof. He clenched his fist, his voice plainly unsettled. I don't understand why I have to do this, but... He looked at her gravely. I know one thing clearly as well, my lady. Now it was her turn to start. What, about me? He looked her over from head to foot and said it plainly. You are far too clever to be mad. You have not been honest with me. I absolutely will not leave until I hear the story properly. After she had laid it all out, he asked thoughtfully, "So you need the position of successor?" She answered evenly, "That position was mine from the start, and it will be mine after." She sighed. "My father was certain I would marry a friend of mine." He asked suddenly, "Did you think so too, my lady?" She nodded faintly, hesitant. "Yes, but that thought has changed now. It's fine, as long as it suits my sister." Remembering her strange question earlier, he asked, "So your sister is blonde?" Her face went stiff. "What? This man?" Then she covered it. "Yes, yes." He turned his face away abruptly and cleared his throat to move on. Then he said, "It seems you aren't particularly honest either." She nodded. "Naturally." Once the air settled, she explained in earnest, "The work up there is simply too demanding. This world isn't kind enough to stand and wait for someone to notice you. So you see marriage as a duty that has to be completed immediately. That isn't a thought an ordinary girl comes to easily." She answered evenly, "Anyone who wants love should go and find someone they love. I don't." He tightened his fingers. "Then why me?" She didn't answer, but asked back, "Does the commander want love?" It was the countless time that day he had fallen silent at one of her questions. She kept her smile and thought, how could that ever happen? I cannot picture those cold eyes looking at anyone warmly. She toyed with her fingers. Everything will be an exchange. If we play a perfect married couple in front of my father, then whatever you want, I'll do. There is nothing I can't arrange. Anything that exists in this world, I can obtain. Then she offered a few examples. The one and only gemstone in the world will be in your hands within the week. He answered flatly, I have no interest in gemstones. She shifted tack. The ancient demon blade Shevia, the holy sword of dawn, I could put them in your hands, along with the war doctrines of King Johas I. He was not moved in the slightest. With terms like those, the line waiting for you would be very long. There's no need to choose me. She was taken aback. I placed such high hopes on him, and he really is proud. A knight ought to be willing to stake a whole life without hesitating. In that case, he continued, his voice cool, one day you ought to consider the imperial palace. That single line gave her an idea. She smiled. You wouldn't be content commanding at San Fidelio, would you? He was mildly surprised. Why would you think that? She answered, cramped, hungry, cold. She looked straight at him, brimming with confidence. I have never met a man of the South who didn't want the capital, and a man like you cannot stay here forever. If it were a wager, I'd put up my entire fortune. She went on. Entering the imperial palace is the final destination of a knight, but it will not be easy. Without influence, without resources and strategy already in hand, don't even dream of it, because the whole empire has its eyes on that door. Killian's eyes cooled, his voice full of meaning. And? Odell smiled with confidence, standing proud. When that time comes, I will spend the honor of House Sergio and lift you with everything I have, so that you get what you want. I will lay that solid road out ahead of you. Faced with that tempting offer, he was still absolute. I refuse. She hadn't expected him to be so unyielding. Commander. He rose, his voice indifferent. I have heard your whole story, and I believe I've discharged my duty to a guest. You should go. She fumbled. If you would only think it over. Unable to move him, she could only answer, very well? She shot to her feet. I understand you, Commander. You care nothing for fame or fortune. She turned away in disappointment. Yes, if that's how it is. The sound of her heels rang out, one measured step at a time. Killian watched her retreating back in silence. She's leaving that easily? For reasons he couldn't name, something hollow rose in his chest. He clenched his fist. What was I expecting exactly? At last he said quietly, travel safely. Odell stopped right at the door. He called after her, unsettled. Lady Odell? She spoke suddenly. From there to here. Her face lit up as she made her final offer. I will lay down a carpet of gold. Killian went briefly still, not grasping her meaning. She smiled faintly and went on. A path of flowers would be too dull. A moment later, her voice rang across the temple courtyard. Let go of me and let's talk. Hauled out by the arms by two priests, she struggled and shouted, Let go! Jackie came running. What happened, my lady? She finally wrenched herself free and snapped, "You saw it and you still don't understand?" Back a few minutes earlier, 2 priests had been summoned by Killian. "Commander," he said flatly, "take her out this way." And as she was dragged off, he did not forget to add, "Laying down a path of flowers is difficult, but I can certainly show you the way out." Turned down flat twice. Her steps went unsteady, and something knotted in her chest. Turn it over as she might, she had no words. Jackie took her arm and asked quietly, "It didn't go well in there, my lady?" She frowned. "Wait, let me think a moment." The maid glanced around. "But who did you speak to end up like this?" A figure appeared in the distance. Jackie cried out, "My lady, over there!" At the sight of Killian's flawless beauty, the maid lost herself entirely. "Over there. The god made flesh, the statue has come to life." Odell had no words for Jackie's stammering and answered flatly, "That's him." Inwardly, she thought, "I must have looked exactly that foolish a moment ago." Killian called softly, "Lady Odell." She turned away, cold, her voice bristling. "There's no need to come out and check. You made the way out perfectly clear." She glared at him. "In that case, why bother pretending to be kind at the start?" He couldn't follow her at all and answered evenly, "What do you mean? Are you talking about the gold?" Odell whirled around and shouted, "No, I'm not laying it down. I'm not, so don't bring it up again." At that, he let out a breath of relief. "Then that's a relief." He hesitated. "I'm genuinely curious. Why did you ask about power and money back there? If I had told you to hand them over, what would you have done?" She answered without pause, "Then you'd have been thrown out here long before I was." Realizing she'd said too much, she covered her mouth. His manner stayed as distant as before. "In short, my answer is unchanged. For that matter, please wait until the Archbishop, who holds the real authority, returns." He even reminded her considerately, "The road down the mountain is dangerous. I'll send an escort with you. That is all I can do in return for the goodwill of House Sergio." The words caught her off guard. He went on, "I'll see you safely down the road." She shook her head and answered shortly, "That won't be necessary. I decline." He had to warn her. "Are you certain? On waning moon nights like tonight, monsters come and go." At that she smiled, her words edged with sarcasm. "Thank you for your kindness, but if you keep this up, I'm going to misunderstand you." She gave him a small nod in farewell. "I'll be going." With that, she turned and left, dragging her dazed maid along by the sleeve. Jackie dawdled. "My lady, wait for me, I haven't finished praying." She clicked her tongue. "I told you, he's a person." Killian watched her go, his expression thoughtful. The instant they were out of sight, mistress and maid broke into a run. Jackie fretted, "Are you all right? Take a deep breath first." Catching her breath, she answered, "That was humiliating." The maid looked at Odell and lowered her voice. "But my lady, did you really just propose to the statue of a god? No, I mean, to that knight." Odell shot her a sideways look and said coldly, "Why, really?" Jackie sighed. "So you did do it?" Afraid of being misunderstood, Odell frowned and defended herself. "It's not what you think, all that love at first sight nonsense. He simply happened to meet the criteria." The maid said mildly, "And the criteria included his face, didn't they?" Odell turned to glare at her, and Jackie changed her tune instantly. "Of course my lady would never fall for him." The maid chose comforting words. "In any case, don't be too downhearted, my lady. Just think of it as confessing to a wooden statue and being turned down. Dragging it out and getting nothing would be far worse. Letting go early and going home isn't so bad." She folded her arms and looked at her foolish maid with weary eyes. "Let go of what? I haven't done anything yet. And what exactly would you do once we went home?" Her whole body flared with resolve. "If I'm not going to do it, fine. But once a woman draws a knife, she should at least land it in a man." Jackie blinked. "But what if he already has someone he loves?" She shook her head and asked back, "If it were you, would you let the one you love come to a place like this? Who knows what could happen?" Jackie sighed. "Then he probably doesn't." Then, remembering the earlier warning, the maid grew anxious. "So we go home now and plan from there? They say there are monsters on the road. Will we be all right?" She answered, "We won't meet any." "No, it's impossible that we will." Seeing the sly look on her mistress's face, Jackie understood at once. Ah, every time she looks like this, she's plotting something. What kind of trick is she about to pull now? Inside, the Vice Archbishop was apologetic. "Commander, I'm sorry, I should have stopped them better." Killian kept his head down over the reports and answered indifferently. "It seems no one was stopped at all. I don't mind." Then he asked calmly, "When does the Archbishop return?" The Vice Archbishop answered, 2 weeks. His Majesty summoned him personally, so he can hardly leave early. The Emperor's illness must be worse than people know. Killian's utterly unmoved face left him with nothing but admiration. The whole Order of Holy Knights was buzzing about Lady Odell's visit. How can he show not a ripple of it? And he turned her away so coldly at that. Then he spoke. "Michael, what's the situation outside?" Michael answered at once. "The head priest inspected the barrier himself this morning. Nothing abnormal, so please be at ease." Renan stuck his head in, grinning. "Well, that goes without saying. Asking changes nothing, Commander. Who would dare break into San Fidelio?" Renan kept up the gossip. "By the way, Vice Archbishop Samuel, I hear the young lady of House Sergio came by this morning. Is that true?" "It is," Samuel added. "That family's eye color is so distinctive that everyone knows it." Renan lit up. "They say her pupils are pink." He pointed at the ruby set in Kylian's pen and exclaimed, "That's it. I think it's the same color as the tip of the commander's pen." Seeing how tactless he was, Michael scolded him. "What sort of disrespect is this?" Killian asked coldly. "Is there something that cannot be said in front of me?" Renan warmed to picturing her. "None of the apprentice knights would take offense. I'm from the north, so I wouldn't know, but the southerners say that family is famous indeed." Then he asked, "Isn't the Vice Archbishop's hometown in the south? Is the family truly that famous?" Samuel nodded. "Yes. There's no one who doesn't know of Sergio." He remembered the Count and said seriously, "They were wealthy from their ancestors' time already, but the current Count has grown the house so far that people say every coin in the south flows into it." At the mention of money, Renan's eyes crinkled into a smile. Michael cracked a hand across his back. Stung, he whined in protest. "Ow, what was that for? Everyone thinks it." Renan said loudly, "Let's wager on it. Go and ask 100 apprentice knights whether they'd want a beautiful lady of a powerful house. I bet not one of them thinks differently." Michael boiled over. "You are beyond saving." A chill ran down Renan's spine. The feeling came so suddenly that he had to glance warily around him. Michael was puzzled. "Now what?" Renan answered. Nothing just now. I got the feeling the longer I stay, the worse it gets for me." Then he said, "Never mind, I'm heading out." Michael grumbled, "When I say stop, you stop. Save it for after you've cleared out the beasts beyond the barrier." Reminded of his work, Renan stammered, That. I've done my best, but the demonic beasts bred out of control all winter." Michael knew laziness when he heard it. "The temple will have visitors soon. I told you to clean it up before then." Michael pressed him. "Deal with it soon. What if a carriage passes through?" Killian's hand, which had not stopped writing, went still. He asked Michael, "Are there many of them?" The man was stunned. "Commander!" Facing all those bewildered looks, he gave an order. "All right, everyone out. Vice Archbishop, you as well." And now he was staring hard at the ruby set in his pen. Worried for Odell's safety, he decided to go and see for himself. Seeing him rise abruptly, Michael blinked. "Commander?" Without a moment's hesitation, he reached for his sword. Killian walked out without a word. Michael grew anxious. "Where are you going? Let me come with you." He answered coldly, "That won't be necessary." Before he passed through the door, he said offhandedly, "There's still time." Michael followed anyway, uneasy the whole way. What on earth could make him this urgent? Recalling the look on his face, he thought, since the day he left the ice caves, this is the first time I've seen him wear that kind of raw expression. Michael tried once more to stop him. "Commander, please, let me come with you." Killian, mid-stride, halted. Michael started. "Commander?" Michael followed the line of his gaze. He saw the high priestess and 2 young women and answered, You mean the ones behind the high priestess? By their dress, they look like volunteers serving her. Killian's voice cooled. I know that much. He approached the group and spoke. High priestess. She turned and greeted him. Oh, Commander, so you were here. He asked, those people over there? She smiled and explained, some very commendable young ladies came to me and said they wished to help with the temple's work. Then she turned to the young women. Come now, greet him. This is the Knight Commander of San Fidelio. One of the two stepped forward, her jet black hair stirring lightly in the wind, her voice soft. Yes, High Priestess. The young woman came closer, her step light and strangely graceful, and knelt on one knee before him. Killian went rigid. He frowned and lowered his voice. What are you doing here? He was about to say her name. Lady, she cut him off at once. Agnes, a humble servant of the god. Odell pushed back her hood, her face bright as she looked up. Greetings to the noble commander of San Fidelio. May the blessings of God Ines be upon you. Inwardly, she was laughing. Hello. We meet again. Jackie looked at her mistress anxiously. Do we really have to stay here, my lady? Odell corrected her with a straight face. It's Agnes. She instructed with perfect solemnity. Inside the holy temple, Sister Jacqueline must lower her voice. The maid wilted at once. Oh, heavens! She still wasn't done teasing. Shoulders straight, like this, yes? Once you're a volunteer, you're a person of San Fidelio. Jackie squirmed. But must we really do this? She answered leisurely, what else? Of all the great holy temples, this is the only one where a woman may stay. A faint smile touched her lips, her eyes full of resolve. Having come this far, I can't go home empty-handed. For her, this really was the ideal place to find a partner. It isn't as though you turn around and find your future husband sitting ready in a room. In a rush like this, I can't pass over a place with this many options. She clenched her fist and swore to herself, I will finish everything here. Jackie was still frantic. Will the Merchant Guild be all right? Everyone is waiting for you, my lady. Far from anxious, she smiled radiantly. Tell them to wait. What else is there? Fortunately, this quarter is already arranged, and there's plenty of time before the cargo ships dock. At the last party, I met every client I needed to meet. And if anything urgent comes up, there's Jerez. She said it, but something in her still stirred. This is the first time I've handed the entire guild to someone else. But this place is genuinely not simple. Better to finish one thing completely than to carry two and ruin both. The door of the room swung open. The high priestess came in, her voice warm. So you're all here. I told you to go and rest in your rooms. She hurried over. She bowed with great reverence. High priestess. The woman helped her up at once and patted her shoulder. There's no need for that. Lift your head. Odell answered, not at all. It's thanks to your generosity that I finally have the chance to serve God Ines. Pleased by such eagerness, she said, I never imagined how Sergio had so well-mannered a daughter. I've lived so long inside the temple I knew nothing of it. Jackie pursed her lips at the performance. What in the world has got into my lady? Odell kept working to win her over. Though family business kept me from the temple, my heart has always been with God Ines. The woman nodded. So that's why you already had a holy name. She answered at once. Yes. My father came here himself to receive the name Agnes for me. Inwardly, she thought, though the real reason is that San Fidelio is currently the most powerful and wealthiest temple of them all. Happy as she was to have her, the high priestess still worried. But you've never so much as had to touch water. I don't think this is work you need to do. Odell waved a hand and smiled. Not at all, I must do it. Consider it a lesson from the god. She thought, in truth, running a merchant guild rarely means sitting and counting money elegantly the way people imagine. I had to settle matters hard, lose my temper, raise my voice. Among the young ladies my age, I'm the one who has been through the rough things. A morning of honest labor is nothing. Besides, I have no right to choose now. Suppose Noella takes the guild. Then even if I died and came back and climbed to head of the house, I would still be nothing but Noella's shadow. I can't throw a scrap of bait to a red-eyed enemy and let her gnaw on it for the rest of her life. Putting anyone else in the middle only makes trouble. What is mine must remain mine, all the way to the end. Remembering that brief moment with him, she couldn't help thinking, a man who wears eyes that cold at all times, and even he can be moved. A smile formed on her lips without her meaning it. Someone stepped in, her voice severe. Lady Odell. The woman frowned in reproach. The High Priestess is speaking, and you sit there smiling to yourself? You should be paying attention. The High Priestess smiled and smoothed it over. It's quite all right, Priestess Rebecca. Agnes must have been smiling at some good thought. Isn't that so? Odell followed her lead and answered politely. Yes, that's right. Satisfied, she instructed gently. As for the volunteer duties themselves, I'll arrange them tomorrow. Today you should all rest. The journey here must have tired you. She lifted the High Priestess's hand and pressed it reverently to her forehead. I am indebted to you. The woman answered, It's nothing. It is all the will of God N.S. The High Priestess spoke up in praise. That girl adapts quickly. You rarely find a young lady like her these days. Rebecca frowned and raised her voice. High Priestess, please look me in the eye. Are those words fit to be spoken inside this sacred great holy temple? Her voice cooled. Priestess Rebecca. Called by name, the woman faltered, but would not back down. But you know perfectly well what sort of house Sergio is. She answered gently. By the word of God, N.S., we are to cast aside prejudice, are we not? She said flatly, This is not prejudice. Did she not go to meet the Knight Commander before she ever came to see you? Afraid the High Priestess wouldn't believe her, Rebecca pressed on. The young ladies who come asking to volunteer only because they have designs on the Holy Knights are hardly one or two, and this is a daughter of House Sergio. What sort of man is her father? Rebecca pictured Odell's face again and spoke gravely. However well she plays the innocent, however carefully she covers herself, she cannot hide those bright, ambitious eyes. She certainly has other designs. She kept trying to convince her. It cannot be that what a priestess like me can see, the High Priestess cannot. How could you? The woman cut in. You mean you're disappointed in me? Rebecca laid a hand on her chest and bowed her head. That is not what I meant. Please forgive me. She lowered her voice and made a show of contrition. I only worry. I feared you accepted her so readily simply because she is a daughter of House Sergio. The woman admitted it frankly. That's right. Precisely because she is of House Sergio, I must accept her all the more. Rebecca was stunned. What? The High Priestess turned away and smiled. Think about it. How glad the god would be if even the most worldly souls on earth were gathered back into his arms. Even a demon can be made into a person. That is our mission. Leaving the waiting room, Odell walked a circuit of the temple courtyard and murmured to herself, so peaceful. Standing in the shade, listening to the leaves rustle, she smiled. This isn't so bad after all. Jackie followed her, asking anxiously, My lady, will today be all right? They clearly won't leave us alone, especially that priestess who stays at the High Priestess's side. Odell reassured her at once. Isn't that a good thing?